Welcome to the first episode of whatever this podcast ends up being named. I plan to do this in a more controlled environment, not in the cheapest hotel room I could find, but such is life. I'm traveling and I still wanted to record this, so here we are. Essentially the setup is I'm just going to go through some few sections, talk about my opinions and some news, and hopefully it's interesting to some extent. Anyway, let's just jump right in. So the first section is where I sort of go through a couple reels, shorts, whatever I see on social media recently that is interesting to me. And for audio listeners, I won't have any listeners for the first episode, but whoever happens to listen to this audio only, I will try to describe what I'm seeing. Anyway, I've compiled a list of what do you have here? 6 shorts, reels rather, that I saw on Instagram this past week. And I'll just go through and I'll say whether this is cringe, cool, or just mid. Okay, and the first one, probably oh god, why did it have to show the comment section? Anyway, what I'm seeing is a car which looks like something Chinese reversing into another car, but it has a bunch of tails on it and they all wag independently. And obviously this is rage bait for the furry community. This one I think is very cringe, honestly, which it's supposed to be, I guess, just by virtue of including anything furry related. Sorry to all the furries out there, it's cringe. I mean, any self-aware furries out there will know that it's cringe. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. It's a very furry reel here that is extremely cringe. The next one, this one, it's a pretty simple edit. It's the kind of like slow panning edit you see on like everywhere in automotive social media, where you just slowly pan on a car's badge or the lights or whatever. And this one is not terribly interesting. It's just like switching between 2 GTRs that were shot the same way, and it's not cringe, but it's not cool at the same time. It's cool in the sense that it's a GTR, so I feel like it kind of balances out. It's just mid, it's whatever. I'm not gonna really, that one's not gonna stick with me. Alright, I don't remember this one. Oh, okay, this one was Need for Speed 2018, which was not an amazing game, but this one's just showing off like a Starry Night, what is it called? Starry Skies mod for the game. It looks pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. It doesn't make me want to play the game anymore because the game, again, it isn't like terrible, but it was the one that had the whole fiasco about always online, that whole thing. It's a fine game. It was fun enough, but mod's pretty cool. So I'd say this one is a cool little social media thing here. All right. This one was just an edit. I'm just gonna skip over that one. That's not terribly interesting. This one is a Kirby themed. What was this? I don't remember. Oh, it's a Kirby themed like bike edit with a cute Asian girl. So that makes it lovable already. I mean, that just by default makes it cool, as degenerate as that sounds. But it is what it is. I don't even like bikes, to be honest. But it's Kirby. It's Asian girl, so there we are. Oh, this is a trend. Okay, this last one is a trend that's been going on around where you have people walking out of a gas station, drinking something or eating something or whatever, and they stop, and it's the stupid Sean Paul song. I don't know if it's Sean Paul, but it's Jamaican music, right? And they stop, and someone hits something out of someone else's hand, and it pans over to the cars and does a little edit. The thing first of all, it's overdone, this trend, but the thing I don't like about it is it's always like showing some shit boxes. Like, it's never something cool, and in this case that's very much the case. It's just a couple dudes in like static slammed fucking E36s that are probably not M3s. Like they probably just got, they're like 328i's that they've put a eBay exhaust on. It's just, it's cringe. It's cringe. That's all. So yeah, that's good for the social media stuff. I think it was a mostly like a very cringe coded grouping today. What? I don't want to delete the group. No. Oh, delete the group. Yes, I do want to delete the group. Okay. Okay, so that's good for that section. The next thing I want to go over here is probably the biggest news of the week, which was the GT3 SC, right? Which at its core is pretty much just a GT3, but convertible, right? But I guess the takeaway from this one, or my initial opinion was like, it's cool, you know, it's nice to have yet another GT3-esque Porsche in the lineup, and I think like a lot of people who have seen this, who is the car for, you know? Because you get, the people who get a Porsche cab, like a 911 cab, they want that softer experience, the more relaxed GT cruiser type of thing. And the people who get a GT3 want something more hardcore and serious. So mixing those two worlds, as unique and interesting as that is, I just don't know why. But I mean, some of the engineering stuff is pretty cool. So, I mean, obviously with the added weight of the roof, the Porsche engineers had to account for that. And so they took some of their learnings from the SC, not the SC, this is the SC. Took some learnings from the ST, which is one of the most revered Porsches, I guess, or in the modern era, in the past like 10 years, in the sense that they took some of the lightweight stuff. So carbon fiber doors, and I don't know what else, a few other like carbon fiber bits to essentially lighten the car. It's still heavier than the GT3. So let's see what I have here. The SC is 3,322 pounds. The regular GT3 non-cab is 3,200. So it's like the SC is like 122 pounds heavier, if that's correct. So it's still it's gonna perform worse, obviously, than a regular GT3. But it's nice that the Porsche engineers were at least attempting to have some sort of, you know, good performance out of the SC. And I imagine it's gonna be really fun to drive, so on and so forth. There are people who like convertibles. I personally don't. But I'm curious to know if people are going to, like, people are going to cross shop the SC with the regular GT3, and who are those people that are going to buy the SC, you know, as their preference, because they're also spending something like $50K more for a convertible top, and I just don't think there's a good value proposition there. I mean, at a certain point, when you make enough money, like, I guess it doesn't matter, but it's just weird. I mean, I feel like for me personally, 9 times out of 10, like 10 times out of 10, I would prefer the regular GT3. But that's someone who does not like convertibles. I'm guessing some people who do like it, you know, they might pick it over that. If you're not going to the track, especially, then sure, go for the convertible. It does have the double wishbone stuff from regular GT3s, the SC, because normally the 992 cabs, it's just McPherson strut front. And for people who don't know, like, McPherson strut is, you just have a lower control arm. So you have like the steering knuckle and then the lower control arm and the shock and damper, right? That's what you have as your front suspension. For the GT3 and now the GT3 SC, it's double wishbone, like the rears, and so you have the lower control arm, steering knuckle, shock and damper, and an upper control arm. And that, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it just increases lateral G's and makes the car handle better, makes it more fun to drive, and so on and so forth. It performs better, is the real takeaway there. So it is, all that is to say, the SC is a sort of weird mix of hardcore Porsche performance with the sort of softer GT lifestyle of a cabriolet. But although I don't think I'd ever buy one if I could afford it, it's cool that Porsche did it, you know. I don't know what else there is to say on that. I guess there's stuff about, you know, what you're giving up to get an SC over a regular GT3. I don't know. I mean, you're giving up structural rigidity, of course. So if that's important to you, then don't get it. But I think over a regular cab, you're giving up a lot. I mean, because of the suspension setup, they reduced the, I believe that's right, they reduced the storage space. Yeah, that's what I have here in the front, because you need the extra space for the suspension, and so they needed to essentially downsize the frunk, and so it's less practical in that regard, and it's less dailyable because of that suspension setup and the additional NVH of all the improvements of the GT3ification of the 992 cab. It's going to be a less dailyable car. So again, yeah, just adding to that sort of weird mix that it is. And I think that's good for that section. Yeah. I mean, I have some, yeah, no. I mean, that's good for that section. We can move on to what would have normally been a break where I just play some car themed games, but you're not seeing my screen, and yeah, it's just easier if I skip that bit. I'm not gonna try to describe that audibly. So I'll go to the fourth section, which I'm tentatively calling window shopping. This one I would normally I say normally, this is the first episode, so I'm figuring it all out. But the plan was to like pick a car that has some gravitas or nostalgia to it, and then compare it to like modern alternatives, so on and so forth. But this past week, I saw a post on Facebook Marketplace, I assume in Orlando, because that's where I'm looking at postings. Let's switch over to this tab here. An NA Miata, so a 96 penultimate year of the NA Miata, built to the nines. I mean, this thing is, everything's different. Everything's changed out. All of the suspension, I don't know about bodywork. I assume the bodywork was just cleaned up rather than like improved or rebuilt or anything like that. But yeah, completely custom build. There's not a stock thing on this. And it's being sold for $53,000, which is just bonkers. I mean, no NA Miata is worth that. I don't care how much money you put into it. And I get the people who, you know, people who mod their cars. A lot of people, maybe not a lot, but at least a significant portion of people think mods add value. And I think in a majority of cases, that's not true, right? I think it's obvious that most people don't want to buy someone else's project, you know? Because it's that whole idea of like built versus bought, right? A lot of people would prefer to just get a stock car and then build that for their specific desires and needs, rather than buying someone else's project and try to figure that whole situation out. And I think this is a very real case of someone overvaluing what they've done to a car. I get that it must have taken a lot of effort. I think I only saw one post on Instagram from the guy who's selling this, and he had a couple of videos showing like the process, and yeah, it seemed like he put an insane amount of work doing this. I mean, again, the entire car is redone. Some stock bits that are like repurchased new, and a lot of mods. But I get that he's done a lot of work, but it's not worth $53K. I don't care how much work was done. It's an NA Miata. It's not worth $53K unless there's a fucking Ferrari V12 on there, or and LFA V10, it's absolutely not worth this price. And I see here on the posting, it's actually been reduced, so you can get a little bit of a savings and now it's 48K. So, you know, there you go. If you were ever in the market for a 30,000 mile completely custom Miata, here's the one. That being said, it's the same engine, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's the 1.8 liter, you just rebuilt it, 300 horsepower, 250 torque, which is pretty good. I mean, power to weight ratio on that is insane, right? I think it's a turbo build. Let's see the engine bay here. Yeah, that's a turbo. So I'm sure it's insanely fast, but you could, first of all, you could just build this yourself. Maybe not this exact build, of course. Again, this is extremely custom, but if you want a turbo Miata, just buy one for like $5,000, put a turbo kit on there, you're in it for less than 10, boom, you're making close to 300. So yeah, it does not make sense. It's insane. Good luck to whoever buys it, I guess, if it even sells at all. I feel like that's insane. It's not even, if it were like a Singer situation, I could kind of get it, but even then, it is a 4-cylinder from the 90s. It's not something special like a Porsche, and that's coming from someone who owns an NA Miata and loves it. It is absolutely not worth this in any respect. And I also brought up some listings here. So on Bring a Trailer, we're looking at, they don't show averages, but we're looking at numbers around 10K. And I mean, if you use Bring a Trailer, you know it's generally a place for nicer examples of cars. And so like around 10K, that feels right in today's market for a pretty nice NA Miata. Granted, you're not getting one at probably like sub 50K or sub 30K like that. You'd probably be looking more like at 13K if you wanted a low mileage Miata like that. But even then, that's about where prices are right now on auction sites. And then looking at, what are we on here? Auto Tempest. So that's probably like dealer listings, right? I filtered for under 100K miles, and so average price 12,300, which again, that pretty much falls in line with what you're gonna see if you want a mostly stock Miata, right? And so to charge nearly 5 times that is absolutely bonkers. And I put together a little list here of what you can get for 53K. So you got 996 turbo if you want a Porsche, which is probably going to be the for some people the best thing on this list. R32 or R32 GTR. R33s, of course, are going to be a little bit more than 53K if you want a nice one. But looking through cars and bids, Bring a Trailer, less so on Bring a Trailer, just general listings, you can find R33s for sub 50. Like, it's not obscene. It's not absurd to find one for under 53. Something that is very much below 53, Lotus Elise. And that is like the better Miata experience. You want something small, tossable. Yeah, it's a Lotus. I would much rather have an Elise for like 40, late 30s, and then have the money left over to, you know, track prep it or whatever. And it's probably still gonna be a more fun experience than buying a $53,000 Miata. And it's more special, it's more interesting. You got C6 Z06 if you want more American muscle. And then my personal pick would be just 10 cappuccinos. And then I'll paint all of them pink, of course, to relive Initial D perfectly. And then looking at modern alternatives, if you want a warranty or CPO or something like that, you got the Civic Type R. I don't know if they're still being marked up, but if we're looking at MSRP, you got a lot of leeway between a Civic Type R and this expensive Miata. And if you want something a little bit nicer, then you got the Integra Type S, which I want to say those trade mid 40s. Let's see. These are selling for, show me a price here, could you? Let me just type in price and it'll tell me the price. 52,900 actually, yeah, so right on the money. So rather than get a Miata, you can get a Integra Type S, there you go. Of course, the obvious one, the other obvious alternative is the ND3. I think they're selling RFs, so ND3 RFs. You can do the whole Brembo package and everything. I think you're sitting at late 30s for that, maybe early 40s. So again, not going to be as fast, but much more modern car that is the same sort of experience. And again, you still have modding budget. Speaking of modding budget, not so much modding budget, but having budget in general, V8 Vantage plus the 15K you need in maintenance as soon as you get it. I mean, would you rather have an Aston Martin or a Miata? I think that's something to consider when you're spending $53,000 on a car. Then the final alternative here, just like a CPO Supra. I did look it up earlier. You could sometimes get some like 2020, 21s close to that number. It's kind of hard, but I put that there because it's the rear-wheel drive sports car with a warranty, with modern features, so it's something worth considering. So yeah, a lot of other things you can get rather than spend $53,000 on a Miata. Again, good luck to the guy and whoever decides to probably just waste their money on that. Cool. Yeah, that's it for this episode. I don't have a good outro, so